What's poppin' with the population? It's another episode of Do-Rag with the Cape Road. It's your host, Dre. This is episode, you fill in the blanks, I don't know. I hope y'all having a wonderful 2024 or whatever have you. I hope this reaches you in good health. Obviously, it's like it's like day 100 and whatever in the genocide. It's not a war. Say it with me again. One word, 3 syllables. Genocide of Palestinian people in stolen Palestine, aka Israel, but in Palestine, Gaza, Rafah, the West Bank, just pretty much anywhere these people go. Excuse me. They are being bombarded by Israeli weaponry, and that's funded by the West. So like the US, I think Britain, France, if I'm not mistaken, some Arab countries giving them some guns too. It's been a lot. It's pretty wild to think that we live in now, right? You know how, I mean, for the most part, I would imagine everybody's watching this has been in a history class when they were a kid, and you would learn about, past conflicts like World War I, II, like the Civil War, Korean War, Vietnam, the War 1812. I'm just talking about stuff like in America. Obviously, there's way more wars and stuff like that because humans are constantly fighting over stuff they don't own. But you hear those things like, wow, imagine if we was alive during those times. That's so insane. Imagine this is wild that they were doing this and that. We are living in that right now. Like what you have going on in stolen Palestine, aka Israel. Excuse me. It's something that's been going on, boiling and brewing since 1948. Then you have what's going on in the Congo that's been going on, for decades. And a lot of those issues are because of Western imperialistic tactics and processes, using the Congolese people against themselves, as far as like M23, and then also having Rwanda as a weapon for them, and Kenya as a weapon for them against African people, because you have to realize imperialism and colonialism don't have a color. It's not attributed to one kind of people. It's attributed to people who are like-minded, because the problem that we face as people that want to be better is we get caught up in semantics. Like something like when you talk about racism or something like that, we're like, oh, somebody white, I'm not racist, or blah, blah, you're racist, I had systemic racism, oh, that's fake, oh, we got over that, yeah. It's like, all those things can be propagated and proselytized by people who don't necessarily look like the stereotypical thing that you would think racism is.
You're a coon. You're a nigga.
For instance, when you think of like the Ku Klux Klan, you might immediately think like redneck white person with a subpar education, maybe living in squalor or almost middle class. But in reality, like the Ku Klux Klan initially, like some of them were farmers and stuff like that, but they were like cops and lawyers and doctors and judges. That's why they would pull people out of prison and lynch them. And this is not just black people. They would pull white people out and lynch them too. My favorite person in history, a woman that I would have married if I was alive at the time. Alexa, chill.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
I don't know where that came from. I turned off my notifications. But back to my train of thought. They would lynch people, like I said, black, white, whatever, but my favorite person in history, Ida B. Wells, a woman I would have married if I'd have met her, she documented like thousands of lynchings across America after her 3 friends got lynched from some trumped up charges or whatever have you. But you learn that violence can be again propagated, proselytized by people that don't necessarily look like the stereotypical thing you think they would, and don't necessarily have to institute it on the people you think that they would. So anytime you think of like these evil things that we need to stop, you need to think about the thought process. It's how people think. The evil within the brain is way worse than the evil within your hands, if that makes any sense. I felt like that was cool as I was saying it, but whatever. What I'm saying is the problems that arise right now that we have going on are not that it's a certain kind of people doing it. It's a certain mindset of people doing it. For instance, when you have what's going on in Israel and what's going on in Israel right now, aka it's on Palestine, and just a lot of the world, but we're going to use this as a great example. As a prime example, because in the Western media, this is what they're focusing on. Zionism is essentially like nationalism. To me, nationalism is nasty. It doesn't make any sense because you don't own this land. No matter where you are, you don't own it because it's just land. You just happen to be there. And more often than not, if you are nationalistic, it usually has a lot of blood attached to it. You usually just didn't live in this place and it was just all cool, just always. Like somebody took it from somebody else. And then even taking it from somebody else doesn't make any sense because, again, you don't own land. Like I brought up before, that anecdote about the natives laughing at the guys wanting to buy Manhattan from them for like $1. And they're like, okay, like you can't own air. But nevertheless, people try to commodify things that don't matter. Those people are sick in the head because that's capitalism. That's a part of capitalism, and it's insane. You don't own anything because when you die, none of this goes with you. So you have like Zionism, like I said, it's a nationalism. It's one of the Jewish state. It's an ideology that's been around since like the late 1800s. Then you had the Balfour Accords. I brought him up before. I think he was British or whatever, but wanting to get a Jewish state. But Zionists, Jewish Zionists, were very anti-Semitic. If you look up Theodore Herzl's, like, his little books and just like his quotes and stuff, he said a lot of things that if you took his name away and just put Kanye West on top of it, you'd be like, what? Like, you hate us. Yeah, because a lot of Zionists believe that Jewish people, ethnically Jewish people and Jewish people by faith, were meager, weak, feeble-minded people who needed to be off in a corner somewhere type thing. So here's your state for you to be at, and we'll watch over you as we do whatever we want in whatever region that we're in. Because even then, early Zionism, if you also look up Zionism, when Theodore Herzl was like in the Britain and all that was like, yo, let's go to Palestine, a lot of early Zionists was like, fam, we from like Germany and Hungary and Austria or whatever, and like some of us from Spain. That's nowhere near where we live at. Like the Germans took our stuff here. They didn't take our stuff. We wasn't in Arab nations. What are you talking about? So again, there was a lot of pushback even within that party, within that ideology. But it's an ideology because, again, you have to attack the ideology, not the people. Because if you attack the people, you will essentially be going after innocent people who have absolutely nothing to do with it, or they may have something to do with it in the sense of they're caught up in the indoctrination and don't know any better. But then you're still attacking the people. It's the ideology. So you have early Zionism, as I said. Well, Zionism period is nationalism, and people propagating that idea and that insane idea that kind of preys on Messianic Jews, where they're just thinking of we come here, we kick off the apocalypse, like the red heifer theory. We all get here, all the Jews die, and when they do, then Jesus comes back. It's wild. It's really weird. If you look it up, I've talked about this before. But the ideology is weird, and the reason why it's even weirder because, again, Jewish people aren't the only person that propagate it. There are a lot of Christian Zionists within America, a crap ton of them. crap ton of Messianic Christians, like it's a crap ton of them. And that doesn't put it all on Christianity. Like every person that's Christian doesn't rock with that, just like every person that's Jewish doesn't rock with that. That's why you need to attack ideology. That's the only way you can stop any of this. Like, the people that are ruling this world, are ruling our society, are ruling it through thought. They aren't the actions, obviously, because they have the monies to do what they do, but it's the thought. If you break down the way that they think, you can get to the bottom of a lot of this. And a lot of this really comes from an inferiority complex. Because for you to want power means you don't think much of yourself. That's how I feel. I feel if you want to dominate over another group of people, whoever they may be, you don't think much of yourself. Because why does what I eat make you shit? Like, we don't have anything in common in that regard. Like, I'm living my life, you're living yours. Why do you need to dictate how my life operates? What's wrong with you?
We don't do that in America.
Go sit down somewhere. Like, why are you moving like that? Power is for the weak. Wanting to control the things that they want to control is insane. You see now, America, the American corporation, because as I said before, land, you don't own land. And if you try to stake claim of land, it's because either one or two things. One, you want power over those people, so you're weak. Or two, you've taken those people out of somewhere where they were just chilling and now they want it back. So those are kind of only two ways I look at land, so to speak. Obviously, it's a little more layered, but just to, a quick short pause. But you look at how, the U.S., like Kamala Harris was in Alabama, I think, commemorating
the immense scale of suffering in Gaza. There must be an immediate ceasefire for at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table.
Was it the red something? It was something. I forgot what she was there for. But she was like, yo, we need a 6-week ceasefire. And everybody's like, oh, she's going against Joe Biden. No. It's like she was just saying the same thing that the U.S. has been saying that they wanted to do with their version of the ceasefire, which is not what the Houthis want, which is not what Hezbollah wants, which is not what Hamas wants, as far as they want a complete and total ceasefire, figuring out a peace deal, blah, 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 and a third. But she was just kicking the same U.S. rhetoric, but saying like, yo, there's a lot of atrocities going on, all these lost lives, and blah, blah, blah. We also need to get aid to these people. It's like, but you can't say that those things are happening and then say we need to get aid to these people, because you're funding those things that are happening and then you're giving minuscule aid to the people. Like, they gave next to nothing, but you're funding it though. That's like me punching you in the face repeatedly. And as I'm beating you almost within an inch of your life, I give you a Band-Aid. Makes no sense. But she's a part of the power structure because she's an evil person. Because then, again, it's an ideology. Because you may look at her like, oh, this is a black woman in a position of power that went to an HBCU. That means absolutely nothing. First of all, she wears like butt-naked Timbs, which, like, that's first and foremost. So she's not even as black as she thinks she is. Secondly, she's a cop, like a big one. Like, again, wanting to protect and serve your community and stop crime and help people, I have no problem with that. But the ideology, the way in which a lot of people operate within being a officer of the law is not necessarily with that thought in mind. I know I have friends that are cops. I have friends I went to high school with that are cops. I have friends I trained with that are cops. They don't operate like that. So this isn't a those are the good guys or the bad guys. This is where the actual ideology of where that came from. Like, police overall in America came from like slave catchers, and then it like just transferred from there. And like I said, there are people that go into wanting to be a public servant, like a police officer, that want to help people. And then there are people like Kamala Harris that laugh about parents having to deal with children with truancy issues and laughing about the parents possibly going to jail because their kids can't stay in school. Like,
I would not be standing here were it not for the education I received. And I know many of us will say the same thing. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco.
She's a sick person. Joe Biden is also a sick person. He also never knows where he is.
We're going to join with our friends in Jordan and others in providing airdrops of additional food and supplies into Ukraine and seek to continue to open up other avenues into Ukraine, including the possibility of a Marine corridor to deliver large amounts of humanitarian assistance. In addition to expanding deliveries by land, as I said, we're going to insist that Israel facilitate more trucks and more routes to get more and more people the help they need. No excuses, because the truth is, aid flowing to Gaza is nowhere nearly enough.
He never knows where he is. He's a horrible human being. They all are. But the other thing that comes from, again, ideology, we think, hey, okay, these people are doing this, we can vote them out, get these new people in, yada, yada, yada. I personally believe that when it comes to politicians, I mean, people have talked about this before. You always want to vote locally. You want to stay on those people locally and move forward with that. But they put so much in front of you that kind of like muddies the water, that makes it hard for you to be able to stay on your local politicians because you got to work so many hours. You got to take care of kids. You got so many other so many responsibilities that they make politics like almost almost an elective for your life. Like, it's not something that you need to be into, but it is something you should be into because these people are representatives of you. I am not really big on any of the politicians because none of them represent me in any way, shape, form, or fashion, because I know what you're there for. But I will critique them because I live in a place that I have the opportunity to do so. And I won't ever tell somebody not to vote. I will just always tell you to make sure you stay on these people, because these people are operating within a system that we've all agreed to and that they've created. Because that's the thing that I think people forget. It's like we talk about, maybe this is a simulation. This is a simulation. This is a simulation. It's like, no, it's not. This is a system that we've decided to abide by. It's something that was created by humans and that we have decided to abide by. Like, and we are so overwhelmed with the capabilities of stupidity by so many people that we think that this can't be real. But it is very much real.
Thank Mayor Adams for that, bro.
The way people are operating is very much real. And they can't see how, some people can't see how this can possibly be real. Like, how can you possibly think that you can move like this or get away with certain things and nobody say nothing? Like, how we can have presidents that, how a president of a country can be well known for drone bombing parts of Africa and win a Nobel Peace Prize within like 2 weeks of his presidency. I'm talking about Barack Obama.
Obama is a mulatto. That's the one-drop rule.
He won a Nobel Peace Prize before he even did anything.
And my most requested by family and friends.
Someone who is 3/4 massa and 1/4 coon.
But that just shows you, like, all of this stuff means nothing. It's just stuff we made up. Joe Biden was telling people, you ain't black if you don't vote for Joe Biden.
Figuring out whether you're for me or Trump.
And you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see
Take a look at my record, man.
He's the same one that said he didn't want his kids in a racial jungle because he was against segregation. He's the same one that's one of the authors of the crime bill in '93 or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like, these people are insane. They say these things out of their mouth hole all the time, and we listen and we just nod. Like, Aaron Bushnell committed self-immolation like so many people before. There's actually a story of I think in Vietnam, there was somebody that did a documentary or something like that, that they went and they saw a wall that had pictures of a bunch of soldiers that passed away. And a person asked them about the pictures, and the pictures were allegedly soldiers or whatever that took their lives because of an anti-war, like that they self-immolated or whatever have you because of what was going on. And people want to talk down on Aaron Bushnell as far as the U.S. media. They want to flip it or not try to run what he actually said and change the narrative and call him an anarchist as if that's a bad thing. All anarchy is, if you look at the definition, is somebody that's against a certain power structure and wanting to change it for the better of the people, but they try to make it like something else. And by some people, I mean all Western media and Ben Shapiro. So one of the things, side note before I finish this, that I'm trying to get on is to fight Ben Shapiro. Not fight him, just punch him in the mouth. Ben Shapiro is an idiot. Nevertheless. But you look at him doing that, right? Aaron Bushnell and everybody else, like the woman in Atlanta that tried to self-immolate in front of an Israeli consulate and all these things. And people are like, oh, wow, how could you do that? I can't believe you want to do that, blah, blah. It's like the fact that those people are at that point and think that that's what they need to do, and the fact that you think that being complicit within the same system that they are completely against is okay, is wild. Maybe you should reevaluate what's going on with you within this system. The only way to stop something is to stop something. This system is wild. Like, you have the Israeli government who's talking about wanting to still rush Rafah, like during Ramadan, and saying that they don't care about Ramadan or whatnot, and saying like, yo, we gotta get, or we gotta do what we gotta do. They're claiming that they need, complete and utter victory because it's a final solution. They keep with the final solution. You know who used to say the final solution a lot? A dude with a small mustache that was German. That dude used to say that a lot. They're operating the same way. Because the Israeli government is not Jewish people. It's not representative of all Jewish people. It's not representative of all Israeli people in Israel. But Zionism, again, doesn't care about Jewish people. Zionism is anti-Semitic by design. Again, you can look it up yourself. Look up Theodore Herzl and look up how he talked about his own people. And look at how other prominent Zionists talk about their own people. It leads you to believe that they simply want to be able to rule unopposed, in that if I create a state for myself with the people that I don't really think much of, but I can rule over with whatever hatred and rhetoric I can create and make them believe, I can make it where I can do whatever I want, and I can use that class of people that I think is feeble-minded and is not even prepared to defend themselves or do anything of merit. I can use those people as cannon fodder and also as cover for me to do what I want. Because anytime I do something out of step, as far as like attacking people, taking land, yada yada, if you say anything, I could be like, oh, you're attacking my people, even though it has nothing to do with my people.
אנחנו צריכים לבקש רשות מהעולם! אנחנו צריכים לבקש רשות מהעולם! אהלן, וסהלן, יא עזה, התחלנו לדבר ערבית, הייתה אמורה להיות תוכנית עבודה של מדינת...
Because all this is going on is just making it more dangerous for Jewish people across the board, and Arab and Muslim people across the board, but definitely Jewish people. They talk about anti-Semitism rising, where they found that those statistics are a little off, and then with those statistics, they count pro-Palestine protesters anti-Semitic. You're and again, being a Semite is being Arab. You're creating like a perfect net to, like a perfect defense for your evil, as far as Zionists. I can do this bad stuff. I have these Jewish people that I represent, but you really don't, but that I represent, that anytime I do this bad stuff, anytime you say something, you're saying it against those people, not really me. And then since I'm doing this bad stuff and I'm also running the state where they live at, I'm running the education, I can indoctrinate a lot of these people and they'll believe everything that's coming out of my mouth. So they'll be riding with all of that anyway. So they'll think they're being attacked too, even though they aren't really, but they're not, because they're not being attacked for the reasons that they think they are. They're being attacked because of what I'm doing. But what I'm doing, I'm telling them is right. It's very manipulative. Power is really for the weak. People are very weird. Think about how sick they are, like as far as Zionists. The flour massacre.
Israeli forces have opened fire on Palestinians who are trying to collect flour in Gaza City. Have a look. These are images from Al Rashid Street. Dozens there were killed and injured. Civilians were left scrambling to try to get to hospitals.
We have come here to get our hands on some aid. I've been waiting here since noon yesterday. At about 4:30 in the early morning, trucks started to trickle in. The Israelis just opened random fire on us, as if it was a trap. Once we approached the aid trucks, the Israeli tanks and warplanes started firing on us. If this continues like this, we do not want any aid delivered at all.
Just like last week, Palestinian people went to go get food from an aid truck and were met with bullets. About 100 people died. And the Western media, you kept talking about it with their headlines as if it was just like miraculously they got shot. Like they don't know what happened or how it happened or who did what. Like every news outlet besides like Al Jazeera, Haaretz, and like maybe one other was like talking really disingenuous and dishonest about it. Even their politicians and their representatives were talking dishonest about it. And then they were trying to alter the footage, just like fam. And then they were saying, oh, we shot at people's feet because we were scared. What is happening? The problem outside of the ideology is harmony. We need harmony as a people to come together. But the problem is there's so many people that don't want harmony because they want power. Because power is for the weak. And the weak people don't usually have their do-rag with their cape rolled. All right, peace.